3 years after a landmark religious liberty case that made it all the way to the Supreme Court, a Colorado baker is back in the news. And I'm sure he's not all that excited about it. He's got a brand new book. He is excited about that, and I certainly am. And he's still fighting to live out his faith. I want you to welcome to the show the Masterpiece Cake Shop owner, author of this book called The Cost of My Faith, and a great, courageous human being that we love. Meet Jack Phillips and his attorney from the Alliance Defending Freedom, Ryan Banger. Give him a big hand. Jack, so honored to have you here. 7 years you have been walking down this path. I remember hearing about your case when it first came out. I was a young man back then.
Yeah, me too.
I had a full head of hair and everything, okay? Did you ever conceive that this thing would still be going on 7 years later?
No, this is actually our third lawsuit that we're in. We were just in court the end of March. And no, I had no idea when I opened the cake shop back in 1993, anything like this could happen.
Jack, so our audience clearly understands, you served any and every one. You had a couple of people who came in, a same-sex couple, and wanted you to do a custom wedding cake for a same-sex wedding. You told them, I'll sell you anything in the store. Look, nothing against you personally, but I cannot create a cake to celebrate a wedding that I have some challenges with as a biblical Christian. And they sued you for that. I mean, they could have gotten a cake somewhere else, but they decided to sue you and make you pay dearly for that.
And they did get a cake for free. It was a rainbow layered cake, and they got it for free from another local baker. But yeah, they did sue us, and it was just about the message that I think a wedding cake presents on its own. If you walked into this room and you saw a wedding cake over there, you would know, or a conference room at a hotel, you would know that there was a marriage to be celebrated there. You have no idea, because that wedding cake is an iconic symbol of a marriage.
One of the great constitutional attorneys I have great respect for him, Jonathan Turley in Washington, D.C., and he made the comment, he said that if Jack Phillips were Jewish and you were asked to make a cake celebrating Adolf Hitler, nobody would expect you to do that. Or, if you were an African-American baker and someone asked you to make a racist cake, nobody would expect you to do that. So why is it that people would expect you to make a cake that violated something precious and dear to you, which is your faith from the just biblical point of view?
Yeah. I can't answer why the state was trying to compel me to do that, because especially at the time, it was illegal in Colorado for same-sex marriage. This is back in 2012. And no political officer could enforce that from their office. But yet they were forcing me to violate my deeply held religious beliefs. And it wasn't just that cake, though. There are other cakes that we decided before we opened that we wouldn't create. Cakes that would be anti-American, or cakes that would denigrate or insult other people, including people who identify as LGBT. There are just certain cakes that we don't create. And that's because of the message of the cake. It's never because of the person who came in and ordered it.
You know, I think that's fascinating, because you wouldn't have made a cake that denigrated somebody who was gay. You wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Because that would have violated your sense of treating everyone with some level of decency and respect. Ryan, Alliance Defending Freedom, you guys have been involved in Jack's case. You've gone all the way to the Supreme Court now. You're probably headed back. Somebody described his experience like Groundhog Day. It just keeps going over and over and over. Legally, what's the pathway for Jack?
Well, Governor, Jack has been a rock. He has been an inspiration to all of us, and every law firm should be as lucky as we are to have a client like Jack Phillips.
Yeah.
And the path forward to him, it really, absolutely.
He deserves it. Yes, he does.
So for most clients like Jack, the path forward is they just give up. But Jack will not give up. And so that's our real privilege to represent him. But like you said, this is about the right to conscience. It seems like the words "just bake the cake" have become a meme of the left. And there's a reason he doesn't bake the cake, because Jack is an artist. And what he does is speech. What he does expresses a view. And the Constitution, the First Amendment, our very First Amendment in our Constitution says you don't have to do something that conflicts with your deeply held religious beliefs. The government can't force you to do that. And Jack is standing up for all of us.
I mean, this ought to be a fairly easy case. I don't even know why it's not a 9-0 done. Don't ever come this way again with this nonsense. So what is the complication? Why is this so difficult for the courts to deal with and keep dragging Jack back through the mud?
I couldn't have put it better myself, Governor. It shouldn't be a complicated case. It's very straightforward and simple. Jack has a First Amendment right not to be coerced to say something that he doesn't believe. And I think if this case keeps going forward and if we don't prevail below, the case he has going right now, for instance, he was challenged to bake a cake for a gender transition. And he said no because that would conflict with his deeply held religious belief. The plaintiff said, I'm coming after you, Jack, because I'm going to, quote, change the way you think. I want to force you to correct the errors of your thinking. And no court should force a believer, or any American for that matter, to do that.
Well, it is an amazing thing. I cannot tell you how much I respect you, both as a Christian brother, but also with someone with the courage of your convictions, when so many Christians that I know would get nowhere near as far as you are, and they just say, I just can't do this. I just can't. And they bail. Jack, you're out there not for you. You're out there for all of us. You're on the tip of the spear, my friend, and without you out there, the entirety of Christian conviction starts being lost all over this country. And I want to say to you, Ryan, thank God for Alliance for Defending Freedom. If it weren't for Christian organizations that get the very best religious liberty constitutional attorneys on cases like Jack's, do not charge him. You depend upon people like the rest of us to contribute so you can provide legal help. Ballpark figure, if you can, what would it have cost Jack to have had the kind of representation? Just if he'd gone just to some New York law firm.
Oh. Well, I used to work for one of those big firms, so I can tell you on some authority. We tried a case 2 months ago. It was a 4-day trial. That easily would have cost him at least $2 to $3 million.
$2 to $3
that's just for
million.
one trial. And he's been doing this for almost a decade.
Well,
ADF has been right there beside us since the very beginning.
God bless them.
I couldn't afford to take a lawyer to lunch, let alone. So support
But you
ADF.
could have gotten them a cake, that's for sure. Well, Jack Phillips, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And this is the new book, The Cost of My Faith, How a Decision in My Cake Shop Took Me to the Supreme Court. It was on sale this past Tuesday, just came out. You can get it anywhere you buy your books. And if you want to learn more about Alliance Defending Freedom, and if you want to donate to Jack's Legal Fund, head over to adflegal.org.